welcome to Game 2, where Fnatic are looking to take a big step towards first place with a win against the King Slayers Roccat. I promise you LCS is not scripted. Let's take a look at how Game 2 works. Roccat have side selection. They picked blue side. They almost won Game 1. And
they should have won Game 1.
It had nothing to do with the draft. It was play style, it was decision making, and let's be frank, it was team fight coordination that just felt wrong, that just felt off.
Yes.
It wasn't on the same page.
Just communication seemed to be the issue for the team. We have talked about how when they brought on Pridestalker, it would definitely be a bit of a hit to them because when they lost Maxwell, we were worried like, maybe their communication wouldn't be as good, given that that was the main strength he was supposed to bring over to Misfits. And I feel like we did see elements of it there, very similar to what we've seen throughout the split. But I think the most impressive thing was the fact that Fnatic were pushed back. Fnatic were really pressured in this first game, and they relied a lot on big mistakes coming out from Roccat in order for them to be able to come back in.
I mean, you said it in Game 1, Vedius. It was proactive plays from Roccat. It was roams from Betsy, tower dives, ganks. Played exceptionally well. We're into picks and bans for Game 2. You can physically see the disappointment in Wadid when Rakan got banned. He threw his head back. He was, not a happy man. Elise, of course, targeted towards Broxah. Alistair off the table.
But Thresh is now available for him to pick up, so while he may lose one playmaker, he can grab himself another. It depends whether or not he values that more than, say, something like a Braum or a Tahm Kench, which is very much what Fnatic are likely to go towards, and it appears that he does.
All right, Cho'Gath went unpicked and unbanned in Game 1 is available. Maokai is as well. It was a Phase 1 ban by Fnatic in the last rotation, last ban rather, number 3. And for Fnatic, a lot of priority on this Gragas. Broxah had a great performance on it, and it's the first phase pick here.
Yep. Had a lot of really good discussions with Deficio about what we think are like the S tier junglers in terms of what do people prioritize the most. We were kind of divided between Maokai, Cho, and Gragas, like who is the top tier. And it seems that for Fnatic, Gragas is the main priority. What I'm most excited about is this Morgana. Now remember what I talked about in Game 1, Quickshot. Jesiz has some pocket picks in his back ready for things like the Alistair, but also the Thresh. And it is this Morgana. He consistently picks it into the Thresh because he feels it is a confident lane answer. And with AD carries left available, things like the Ashe, I'm very much expecting that to come out from the side of Fnatic as well.
All right, a lot of tools then, a lot of options. Let's see if your predictions come to pass, my friend. Jarvan locked in for Roccat again for Phaxi. Need to see a better performance from him. Knew he was going to get bullied in lane.
Yeah.
But then synergy with the team, teleports, a couple of questionable ones, a couple of late ones. And Betsy going to lock in his most played champion. This is the 12th time this split that Roccat have played Syndra mid lane in 27 games.
You know, we could see a Kayn here.
Is this a Kayn game?
Potentially.
For Pridestalker?
No, for Fnatic.
Ooh.
There's always an element of risk, but the last time...
You mean Kayn mid?
We do mean Kayn mid. For now, he's not going to pick it up, but there's always the possibility. It very much depends on how much of a gamble he wants to take. He got given it once. They really want to give it again. Very much up to the debate of the coach, you could argue.
Yeah, and heard Caps giving a lot of solo queue advice, saying like, whatever you do, don't die. Make sure you play safely, use that regen, and in actual fact...
they banned that game.
They banned. Remember, of course, Pridestalker was the man that debuted it on the EU LCS stage. It wasn't the biggest splash on its debut. The game kind of went away from him. But yeah, not going to see it today.
Wow. We could argue that I was correct, that we do see it, just banned away. Now the focus is going to be a lot of mid laners. Orianna very likely to be next for the side of Roccat, maybe even a Taliyah ban, simply because you want to try and get caps off of as many comfort mid lanes as possible. But remember, we are playing on patch 7.15. Echo did receive a few buffs. There was the possibility, some chatter about it being used as an answer to the Syndra, but I feel like that he's more likely going towards a teamfight focused mid laner, like either the Orianna or the Taliyah.
I mean, Galio's up available if they want to tank, but there's not enough damage. It was banned last game by Fnatic. See whether or not they want to some sort of damage source. They have to, really, and safe option in Taliyah. Not the most exciting of matchups, but 3-0 here for Caps on that champion.
Taliyah's super exciting. I love watching Taliyah. I think she's a super difficult champion to play.
Yeah, but not in comparison to Kayn.
I mean, that's true.
You've got all my hopes up around like an assassin mid or something like that.
Well, unfortunately, we will be seeing pretty staple We get to be excited about Morgana into Kog'Maw, though. That's pretty cool. But now I'm looking at this Ashe pick, and I'm thinking more and more that it becomes even better. With the big arrow against the static AD carry, the Morg shield against the single target CC coming out from the Syndra and the Thresh, I think that it just acts as another engage tool for the rest of Fnatic to follow up.
I'm going to pivot away from the Kha'Zix. It's going to be Warwick instead. What do you make of that?
I think that it's a comfort pick for Pridestalker. I think it's something that he has had a decent amount of success on in the last few weeks. I feel like in one of their most successful games against the Unicorns of Love was when Pridestalker had this Warwick and he was putting a lot of pressure in the mid lane, using that great mobility that you have to roam around the map.
Ooh, that's a surprise.
That is a bit of a surprise.
So what do you make of Jhin?
So I think you can pick Jhin into very squishy compositions. And when you're going up against a Jarvan, Syndra, Thresh, Kog'Maw, this actually isn't the tankiest of team comps, largely because you're always going to rush a Tiamat, which means that you're not rushing tank items. You're not going for a lot of health early. You're not going for a lot of defensive itemization. You're always just trying to get that early bit of clear, and then you build into tank later on into the game. So very, very late, it could be a problem. But by then, Jin's getting those massive crits because I expect it to go more towards the crit build rather than lethal.
A lot of damage to work with. This is the first time that Rekkles has played Jhin this summer. Been a while since he last played that champion. We've touched on both of these team compositions. Now all of a sudden, it's protect the Kog'Maw. See whether or not Wadid's Thresh can play the lanterns correctly. There's frontline, there's CC. There seems to be some tools here for Roccat. What do you think?
I'm looking at Roccat and I'm thinking, I'd love to see Pridestalker invest a lot of pressure mid lane. I didn't quite catch whether or not Caps is running Cleanse. I think he needs to in this matchup because you want to get this Syndra snowballing. You want to stop Caps roaming around the map and doing what Betsy did in game 1. This early game is going to be extremely important. And for Fnatic, they want to just have as slow a game as possible, whereas I need to see some early game action for Roccat.
All right, early game Roccat. Let's see if they can make it happen. We're loading up into game 2. Fnatic have a 1-0 lead over Roccat. This would tie the 2017 head-to-head at 2-2. My eyes definitely going to be on the AD carries. It's a Kog'Maw for Hjarnan.
Yeah.
And just a quick update. For anybody that caught the damage rating video earlier that Pyra introduced, there's an article up on lollysports.com explaining what damage rating is. Rekkles' Tristana damage rating was plus 70%.
That's big, by the way.
That is gigantic. Let's see whether he can put up some big numbers. All right, Dark Binding onto Wadid. This one's guaranteed. I'm calling it. It lands. Look at the threaded volley as well. And Wadid forced a flash. Is anything going to follow? Yes. Rekkles with first blood. Damage rating advantage.
That's how you want to start a game on Jhin. He's gotten himself the early Doran's Ring, typically used to help you have more pushing power, more trading power, because of how well it synergizes with his Q, the Dancing Grenade. He adds to that a longsword, and now you're going to have even more early lane power.
Oh, this is going to be so much fun. I love this.
I mean,
first
for
blood
Fnatic,
already.
yeah.
Already, straight out the gates. We opened up game 1, Vedius, with a lot of explanation around what's at stake in this series. I just want to quickly show all the viewers what the standings are in Group A, because we know Fnatic and G2 have secured themselves playoff spots.
Wow.
Some pressure here on Pridestalker.
So, yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the standings, because what's important to recognize is that for G2 to move into first, they need Fnatic to lose to either NIP or Roccat. And for Roccat to make their way into third, they also need Misfits to lose while also winning a lot of their games. So for both G2 and Roccat, things are a little bit out of their control, but it would certainly help both these teams secure spots if they can get themselves a win in this series today.
Roccat would need to win out, Misfits would need to lose out. Let's see if Roccat can do it.
And speaking of Roccat, let's have a look at some of the fun stuff that we do have on the ref, because while Morgana is very exciting, for me, I know a lot of people think she's pretty boring.
I love Morgana.
She is a very linear champion, but what we've been seeing a lot more recently, especially over in the LCK, is you basically max only Q and you max only E. One of the big reasons as to why I thought Morgana would become popular in the tank meta was because it's very difficult for tanks to actually break that shield, especially when you put a lot of early points into it. But there aren't actually that many tanks on the side of Roccat, and the reason why Jesiz has picked it up is because of how powerful it is in this lane matchup. Every time you get hooked, you don't actually get CC'd. It's very easy to read. It is naturally a skill shot. So if, in the event that it does land, you just throw the black shield on and boom, you're nice and safe. And now we're seeing Caps go for a bit of an aggressive invade.
Flash from Pridestalker. He fancied himself some shots. Flash over the wall from Caps and the blast going to safety. Luckily that one is still up and available.
So it does result in a flash going down for Caps. He's going to need that. Because remember what we said, I want to see a bit of mid lane focus coming out from Roccat. They do have good scaling. I feel like Syndra scales very nicely the later the game goes, especially around that mid game point, which has got 2 items. And Hjarnan, well, he's on a Kog'maw. So we now see a bit of action in mid.
Oh, where's the seismic shove? I don't know if that's on cooldown from Caps. Used to zone, body slam comes out, summoner heal and flash. Used by Betsy, no cleanse this time around. Pridestalker looking for Jaws of the Beast, finds it! And that's going to be first blood picked up onto Broxah for Roccat.
They wanted to give first blood over to Betsy, but the red buff ended up picking it up. Or the first kill in the mid laner, rather. And either way, they're able to get an answer. Roccat, they find themselves a bit of an advantage in the middle lane. We talked about this is what they needed to do. Pridestalker needed to have some kind of impact to make it difficult for Caps to roam around the map, but also to just get this Syndra going. And so far, he has the level advantage. He's gotten a bit of a CS advantage because of Caps' over-aggression in the enemy jungle, and everything is going well for the mid laner of Roccat once more.
It's so important for Pridestalker to get that kill as well. You know, he lost some of his jungle, was pressured early, lost his flash. For a guy that took some hits in the early game.
But it's also about getting that early Tiamat too, because remember, you want that early clear. It's extremely important that you can get to those tank items as fast as you can. But let's just see how the play actually happened. Betsy got forced literally between a rock and a hard place, where he only had the choice of either getting knocked back or flash, so Caps only had to be patient. But then Broxah used his flash to actually force the engage, and that allowed the great mobility that Pridestalker has to close the gap and end up getting the kill. So Roccat returning that first blood.
May I ask for permission to have a really lame joke?
You may.
Caught between a rock, obviously Taliyah, a hard place, obviously the wall of the jungle,
yeah,
and a fat place.
I know.
Because of Gragas! Come on, no? Okay.
That was weak.
All right. Well, it was weak. Okay, fair enough. One clap. I don't know, it made me happy.
You're welcome to try, Trevor, but there are
Thank
professionals that are more designed for this job, so don't quit your daytime job,
yeah,
right?
I'll try to take lessons from Freak. He is still the piece de resistance when it comes to lame jokes.
Did you just call him a pizza? Anyway.
I did.
So Berserker's Grease Rush for Hjarnan. This is something that we have seen from a few AD carries, largely because he's going to be maxing the W, and a lot of his early damage does come from the Bio-Arcane Barrage. So by just getting early attack speed, it does inevitably give you more power, but also it gives you more mobility. And that's something that's really important to recognize against big skill shots like the Morgana Binding, because as we all know, you could rewrite the Bible in the amount of time that you are locked up in that small bit of CC, so it's important that you're able to avoid it.
A lot of crowd control to Jesiz, as long as he's hitting those skill shots, as long as he's hitting those targets. If you look at the mini-map, Wadid being supported by Pridestalker on that invade.
He's 6.
sOAZ is getting dunked on. Ultimate advantage there for Phaxi, but with flash, as well as that hop from the mini Gnar. A lot of tools for sOAZ to escape. But a much stronger start here for Phaxi. He's +9 CS, starting to win the 1v1. The game hasn't been played around him yet, because of course by this stage in game 1, Roccat had already tower dove because they had the Taliyah.
Yeah, and also remember that once sOAZ gets that phage, this matchup starts to become a lot more difficult for Phaxi, because then sOAZ can start kiting him around. He's also level 6 now, so there's the risk of a Gnar ultimate too. And this lane will slowly start to go back in the favor of sOAZ, depending on how aggressive Phaxi chooses to play up in the laning phase. But so far, across the board, small advantages being gained for Roccat once more. This early lead is in their favor. And that's always a bright spot for any of those Roccat fans at home, because when you think back to game 1, they started with this good early game lead, but then they couldn't quite transition it into a solid mid game and close out the game.
Talk about those early leads. I do have a quick stat for you if you'd like to hear it.
I always love quick stats.
Do you see Hjarnan's CS at the moment?
I do.
Right, he's got +3 on Rekkles. Now this is a kind of a weird one, so stick with me. In the 10 games where Hjarnan has had a CS advantage, as the black shield blocks the death sentence. In the 10 games where Hjarnan has had a CS advantage at 15 minutes, Roccat have won 9 of those games, okay? 90% win ratio with a CS lead at 15 minutes. Now let's track his CS at 15 minutes and see whether or not that 90% ratio can tip the odds in their favor.
So last game, what you're telling me is he was in a deficit, or is this up until?
He was in a deficit.
There we go.
And of course, he didn't have the lead, so it did not impact that.
So it's all on Hjarnan, is what Quickshot is saying. All of the pressure is on that man. So we will certainly track that as the game progresses. Want to go back and look at some of the items that have been completed, because Tiamat now finished for Pridestalker. The book, I always forget the name of it, Lost Chapter. It gives you mana, really good first item on Syndra, and having it over your lane opponent is absolutely massive too, because the mana advantage and the bit of AP that you get, extremely powerful at just giving you an edge during the 1 versus 1 laning phases. We do see Phaxi missing the EQ.
Yeah, sOAZ not going to be under threat. Manages to get a little bit hyper, charging up that Rage Bond. If you look at the minimap, Caps is coming up, threaded volley. Sorry, his Weaver's Wall is available. That's what would allow him to tower dive. So I was trying to go with that. But Caps, of course, the man that was the recipient of that gank early on, after trying to kill Betsy, he's down 15, correction, 20 CS at this time.
And this is why it was a massive mistake from Caps too. He tried so hard to deny Pridestalker early jungling that it cost him so much in the early laning phase, and then his jungler died as well. So Betsy not only has the item advantage, but he always has consistent pressure in mid lane too, and so Caps doesn't have the freedom to make the same sort of plays that Betsy did in game 1.
Betsy traditionally has not had strong laning phases. He's actually struggled a little bit throughout the course of the summer split. Something we said in game number 1. Betsy on the Syndra has averaged +2 CS at 15 minutes on what is a very lane-dominant Syndra. Let's see if he can get a better record this time with all of that help that was enabled by Pridestalker, who got his Tiamat, working towards that red smite upgrade, and just clearing his jungle at 10 minutes. We got ourselves an even game here, Vedius.
Yeah, so far, which is always good for Roccat. I feel like they do perform better when they have that early lead, but then it always comes down to that point of how do they close things out? And for Roccat, that has been a large part as to why they are so far behind in making it towards that playoff race.
So with kind of a non-traditional comp on the side of Roccat in some ways, what is their win condition?
What is their win condition? So they have a few, actually, because their team fighting is decent. Once Kog'Maw gets to a certain point, 2-3 items is where he'll really hit a strong spike. But they can also snowball through this Syndra. If they invest a few more resources into getting it going, that could be another avenue with which they could win the game. But he has to be very mindful of the lack of vision that they have around the river right now, as Pridestalker is aware that Broxah and Jesiz are setting up a lot of deep wards.
Okay, let's see whether or not Roccat... No, let's see which win condition they invest into.
Yeah.
That's a better question to ask. Where does Pridestalker go next? What does Phaxi do with his teleport when it becomes available? Because sOAZ currently has the TP advantage.
And the Morellonomicon just being finished for Betsy as well means that this is a good point for Roccat to try and force a skirmish or a fight. Ocean Drake, we've heard from some of the pros, that is an extremely valuable Drake early on because of the lane advantage you get. And if you do want your Kog'Maw to eventually outscale this Jhin, that is a great opportunity. So that's the thing to take into consideration. But we also have to take into consideration itemization of Rekkles, who's going for more of a lethality build path, rather than the crit build path that we've seen a lot over in North America.
Well, Ghostblade completed, probably thanks to that very, very, very early First Blood.
Could help.
You know, rushed that one down 11 minutes in. Hjarnan, of course, working towards that Blade of the Rune King, no doubts. And we've got a very extended laning phase. If you look at the HP of really all of the towers, it's only the top tower for Roccat that's taken some chip damage. Other than that, it's just the farm alarm for days. So this will be good for Roccat scaling, well as Fnatic. Both teams have got a lot of headroom to grow in their compositions.
So now you can see Broxah, he's just hanging around the middle lane, but wants to see if he can get some kind of a gank onto Betsy, who does have all his summoner spells. And with the stun down, this could be a big window.
Or not.
Or not. Cap's going to just throw a couple more rocks and disengage, move with his jungler. They have a lot of deep vision around the bottom side.
Was Broxah waiting for a counter gank? Because he didn't look to flash body slam or any of that sort of shenanigans. What do you think?
I think he was very much just waiting for Betsy to overstep slightly. You have to remember the thing about Syndra is right now she's playing towards top side because she's similar to Orianna, and that when her flash is down, it's super easy to get that punish on. So I think that just hanging towards one side of the lane, if you overstep a little bit, you're at a big risk of a gank or losing all your summoner spells.
Come on, Pridestalker. Throw down the infinite duress. Going to walk into Fnatic vision very, very soon. Dancing and skirting. You're just on the outside. Oh, manages to walk into the Tribush ward. I clenched because I thought he was going to get spotted. Caps finally uses the Weaver's wall. The target is Phaxi. Cataclysm comes down. Tower helping out for now. sOAZ forced to hop out to safety, and Phaxi stays alive a few seconds longer. Dragon secured by Roccat as Phaxi flashes over the wall. The Caps follow suit.
And now you have Betsy coming in.
Ooh, okay, that's a counter kill. Didn't even see him sneaking up from behind.
And so that ends up being a 1-for-1. Phaxi played that as well as he could. And the fact that they're able to get themselves a return kill, mid lane kill for mid lane kill, is the best case scenario for Roccat, given the situation that Phaxi was put into.
All right, Vedius, Phaxi down 13 CS in that top lane. And of course, he lost a huge wave thanks to this dive.
The big thing to note here is how Phaxi uses his ulti to lock both members in, but his focus is actually on Caps to get him as low as possible. So then the moment sOAZ goes out of tower range, he was hoping that Caps would get tower range and maybe he could turn it around. But he took more damage than sOAZ did, and he ended up losing his life. And while sOAZ was trying to avoid getting stunned up, he ended up losing his life.
All right, as we come out of the replay, I want to draw everyone's attention to the scoreboard at the bottom of the screen. Look at those CS numbers. I can't talk about the top and the mid lane, but what I want to talk about is Hjarnan. He's got +2 CS, but the wave is being pushed away. There's 35 seconds for him to increase his win percentage chance to 90%.
But he's waiting in base. Quickshot. He wants to get his Blade of the Ruin King. He's not going to be able to get this wave, and that means that he is likely going to be guaranteed to lose that farm advantage.
Oh. This is a tough position to be in. You had the possibility of a 90% win ratio. The Lantern, though, is going to pull him in. I don't think he can pick up 10 CS that quickly because there's not that much.
This is it. Hjarnan has spelt the doom for Roccat. Or statistically, it becomes a lot harder.
Statistically, it's harder. I actually got very excited about the first part of the story. I haven't worked out what the win percentage is when he's behind at 15 minutes. So I will figure that out with you guys in a moment or two. Mostly because the stats team is working on it and they'll tell me and I'll tell you. But as it stands,
Quickshot.
I know. I stopped at the first hurdle.
Hey guys, look at my great quick stat.
I know, I forgot there's 2 parts. But look at the CS for Betsy. He's still up 20 when he's usually only +2. Takes a big trade of damage from Caps. But as it stands, Fnatic keeping up with Roccat, and Roccat, they're replying to Fnatic's moves, right? Betsy responding to Caps' dive early.
And this could be a little difficult for Fnatic, because usually with the Taliyah, you want to try and roam around the map a little bit more. He is making his way back towards the top side. His ulti is just about to come back up, but Betsy's trying to make his way up to help.
All right, tower first blood secured here by Fnatic. sOAZ somewhat uncontested. Looking at the mini-map, here comes Betsy. Dark Sphere comes down, Force of Will. Flash forward into the unleashed power.
Outplayed.
And now all of a sudden Caps is here. Throws out some threaded volleys. Really? You went with outplayed?
I love the way Betsy flashed in and pressed that one button.
2 point-and-click ultimates, and Vedius yells outplayed. You know what? I'll give it to you. There was a lot of energy there, buddy. But as it stands, it was Betsy that got the kill. And I asked the question earlier, where would Roccat invest their resources? It seems countering Fnatic with Betsy.
To be fair, I feel like Roccat have actually invested very few resources anywhere into the map. It's just been Caps trying to roam around, trying to help his top laner out because he knows how low the tower is. But once Caps realizes the tower is going down, he just decides to move back. sOAZ is not actually expecting Betsy to show up until it's too late. And then the moment the flash is gone, they just go ham. They absolutely obliterate him. They try to get another pick down onto Caps as well, but he's too far away. There's also all that zoning control from the Taliyah down in their way, so they end up not being able to get the follow-up. So Roccat, they're still leading kills right now. Gold now actually going in favor of Fnatic because of the tower they just picked up for themselves.
All right, gold in favor, and a percentage chance for Roccat to win this game. If if you were to put a number on it, what would you put? Remembering, Hjarnan did not have the CS lead.
42%.
Oh, go lower.
37.
Go lower.
21.
Much lower.
11.
10%. It's 1 win and 9 losses. The ooh is the best part.
Wait a minute, hang on a second. How could we not have worked that out from the 9 wins and 1 loss with Hjarnan and his CS leads?
So, Roots is caught here onto Wadid, as Roccat are now looking to take their first tower of the game. Hjarnan with his Blade of the Ruined King will do so. And looking at the itemization, there is a rapid fire cannon picked up for Rekkles. He's making his way down. The Soul Shackle's not going to proc, because Wadid, the hero, saves him with the lantern.
So now, what you'll see is Betsy. He started making his way towards the bot side, but I feel like he just needs to start pressuring onto this mid tier 1. It is so important that if they can get that first, it gives them so much more control over the rest of the map, and it'll give freedom for Betsy to start roaming, start to find picks, utilizing this extremely powerful Syndra that they have coming into the 20-minute mark. Because once he gets that Lunans, which he will get very, very soon, the Syndra is going to be a very, very powerful option for Roccat to win the game.
What are we expecting to see from either team on the map? Right, it's only 1 tower each. We've got even gold. We're 20 minutes in. I mean, this feels like a Season 2 game, where it's like lane for 20 minutes, then whoever wins team fights wins the game.
Yes, that was the pinnacle of League of Legends. The CLG EU era, where we had 40 minutes of farming.
Yes, and one team fight around Baron decided the winner.
But the thing is, it's really difficult for Roccat to try and force things when their Kog'Maw is this low, but look at Betsy.
Well, Dark Binding catches him. Summon a heal, buy some time. Rekkles just delaying that shot before the curtain call comes out. And there's the power of Dark Binding. You're caught up for literally days.
You can see him digging his own grave. He had enough time because of how long he was CC'd in there. The rest of Fnatic fold up. 5 members in the mid. There is no answer from Roccat, and this is going to be 2 towers very swiftly going in the favor of Fnatic.
Oh, so nicely done. Roccat, however, will get at least 1 reply in the top lane. Hjarnan's got enough time, and there's no one here to contest. But this will mean Fnatic can pick themselves up their own Ocean Drake. It's 1 for 1. They each had 1 Mountain Drake in the last game. It's all fair.
Yep. Baron now is available. I feel like they're going to take this gamble, Quickshot.
Ooh.
This seems risky.
They don't know, though. They actually have no idea. An Inkling will be coming out, or should be coming out from the side of Fnatic.
All right, Pridestalker's up on the front lane. Are Roccat seriously going to sneak yet another Baron? It just seems like Roccat are able to read the map, but Weaver's wall comes down. That's going to lock Roccat.
They know.
Fnatic making their way forward. 2,000 hit points. Baron should be safe. If the smite comes down, Pridestalker, will you win it? Yes, he will. Deadly Flourish comes down from Rekkles, and now Betsy unleashes power onto Broxah. He flashes away from the CC. Betsy gets caught out and dropped down by Rekkles, who's on a killing spree. But Fnatic lose Baron, and they only get 1 kill in reply.
Betsy, he just tries to get some kind of cleanup kills on the back end as Fnatic continue the chase onto Roccat. He didn't need to be there, but it doesn't matter. It's a worthy sacrifice for the overall gains of Roccat as they walk away with an extremely early Baron. Fantastic decision-making there, and this is the potential that Roccat do have. If they work together, if they are more aligned in what they want to achieve, you can see the fruits of their labor.
All year long, Fnatic have had the worst Baron control against Roccat. Rekkles will get run down here. Hjarnan just needs 1 more shot. The barrel from Broxah saves Rekkles' life. He yells, "I've got you, brother."
And Hjarnan decided to be conservative with his heal. If he'd used it, he would have been able to close the gap, get that last auto in. But instead, they don't get the kill, but they don't care. They've got the pressure. They have the Baron. They're making their way up top lane, and they're going to start heading onto that tier 2 tower.
All right, tier 2 tower is the target for Hjarnan and Wadid. I was mentioning it a moment ago. Roccat have been able to secure 13 Barons against Fnatic this year, while Fnatic have been able to pick up 6. Of course, that is helped out by the fact that Roccat have won 2 of the 3 previous series they've played. Baron's going to be a tool in that arsenal. Wadid looking for those hooks, looking for targets to lock down. All right, Baron-empowered minions means Betsy, Phaxi, the rest of Roccat going to knock over this mid-outer turret. sOAZ trying to do some reply on the bottom, does so. That Rift Herald being summoned, I wasn't quite sure what that was, or teleport, couldn't see. Either way, Betsy gets chunked down by Caps. That threaded volley doing a lot of damage. Leandri's Torment chunking him down. And as it stands, Roccat backing away. This time the death sentence hits, but there's no damage, Vedius. There's no one to follow up. Wadid doesn't have the support of the rest of his team. And he's tagged by a bunch of skill shots before Jesiz finally takes him out. Teleport comes down from Phaxi. This is getting weird. Infinite duress, not going to be able to lock down Caps. Jesiz is going to get killed as the Soul Shackle stuns too. Now Pridestalker's running for his life. sOAZ hops over Hjarnan's head, looking to get that Mega Gnar bar firing up. Hjarnan, no crash, remember. He's going to get rooted by a deadly flourish, and Rekkles gets his 4th kill of the game.
Fnatic, they find another great fight as Roccat tried to utilize this Baron to push down more towers than they could. Every time Fnatic are finding these great fights, they did it in game 1, they're continuing to do it in game 2. They will always punish you every time you try to make something happen because they're so good at being able to trade things with their great ability to read the map.
Just feels like game 1 again. Baron for Roccat, they get caught out in some team fight scenario they didn't expect. Fnatic just do a great job of punishing Roccat. So they get their 2nd dragon, they push that gold lead, and even though the game is still close, look at this setup here.
And look at the rest of the team of Roccat too, because they don't decide to follow up on that. They don't decide to fight until now. Like, that was a great hook from Wadid. The rest of the team could have just followed up on it, and instead, they wait till after they lose their support. They wait until after they've already hard committed, and are now in this awkward situation where Fnatic still have 4, well, reasonably healthy members, aside from Caps, and they can just continue on with the chase. And look at Rekkles popping that 4th crit up. Easy follow-up to allow them to get their 2nd kill. And it's just time and time again, this lack of communication from Roccat. Like, I just don't understand why they're not talking to each other about what they want to do and when they can make these plays.
Well, that is the difficulty of teamwork. It's something that many, many, many teams struggle with at times. And it's just interesting, right? Whoever the shot caller is for Roccat in terms of reading the map or sniffing out those Baron opportunities, when it happens once, cool, good call. When it happens a 2nd time, okay, you're starting to see a trend, but multiple weeks in a row, different opponents, multiple games, different team comps. You know, Roccat have the ability to read a map, sneak a Baron, do the risky call, but it pays off, you know, a good percentage of the time.
They never translate it into anything. It's always the close from Roccat. Like, they're almost there, and it's just like playoffs, they're almost there. And just like last split, oh, they're almost there. But they never quite get over that last hurdle. They go through many trials and tribulations, and up against Fnatic, they've put up a good fight, and the game is not over for them yet. They still have the Kog'maw win condition. They still have the ability of the late game where Pridestalker will get super tanky, but Fnatic, they're going to try and force things now.
All right, Lantern will get Betsy to safety. The teleport comes down from sOAZ. Infinite duress, I think, was dodged away from there by Caps. The barrel splits up Roccat. Rekkles gets yet another kill. Wadid has shut down Caps, and all of a sudden Rekkles is down. Jesiz, Broxah, sOAZ trying to turn this around. The death sentence comes backwards, and Pridestalker, he can fight for days. So much healing in his kit. Eats a boulder to the face, and Fnatic, they end up trading 2 for 2. Death sentence almost tagging sOAZ.
Ends up being carry for carry in the end. All of the front lines still available for both squads, but they're not able to turn it into any objectives. Really impressive how both of the front lines of each team can get onto the backline, but they can't peel for their own backline. And when we actually get into the replay, we can see how they were able to dissect it, because one of the big things was really good sidesteps from Caps, but because of his positioning, it made it super easy for Pridestalker to dive onto the backline. And this is why Betsy's forced into a really difficult situation with another great wall from Caps. Look at how easy it is to get onto the backline. He doesn't have the support, but neither does Hjarnan or Betsy. So they end up dropping on the back end. Really good flank from Phaxi once again. And then you just end up in this tank versus tank situation where no one's really going to die. You think that they might, but they can't really turn it into anything significant.
And we still have a super even game. Even on gold, nearly even on kills, dragons as well. You can see at the bottom of your screen some of Fnatic's records this year. Great goal difference at 20 minutes. Ridiculous KDA for Rekkles. Another great game. He's 5-1-1 right now. Broxah is currently the First Blood King. Just huge impact. This series, not so much, but up till this series, he's had a great record and great early game.
Yeah. Fnatic, they certainly hold a lot of records, and they have had a fantastic split overall. We talked a lot about how they want to make up for the blemish on their records. Roccat did hand them their first loss of the split, and they want to make that their last as the Baron is being kicked off by Fnatic.
All right, this seismic shove catches out Wadid. He's able to get the box down barrel. Not being focused yet by Fnatic. Teleport's available for Phaxi. Do they decide to fight 4v5? They've lost their support. They've lost some of their peel. Betsy's coming in. Phaxi TPing in north of the fight. Looking at the river. Fnatic want to try challenge. Great seismic shove. But it's Hjarnan. He's caught out, stunned out, not dead yet.
Whoa!
Just to take down sOAZ. Hjarnan's still alive, but very, very low. Curtain is called. Phaxi goes down. Second and third shot tags. Pridestalker. Number 4 goes wide. Weaver's Wall comes out and caps. Manages to find Hjarnan. The Acafian surprise won't kill anyone today. And Fnatic go 1 for 2.
And Roccat looked extremely good in the second half of that fight with a multi-man stun. Phaxi looked like he was going to get a great multi-man ultimate off too, but the disengage power from Fnatic's composition, the Morgana, the Taliyah, they're able to get the turnaround and they still end up winning the fight overall. But fortunately for Roccat, the Baron does not go down. They're still holding on to this relatively close gold lead and playing towards the Kog'Maw win condition. You're seeing the amount of damage that he can throw out, but you're also seeing how much damage Rekkles can do when he's able to get onto these squishy targets, because Broxah knocks them in, he just shuts them down. Wadid doesn't have a huge amount of armor, and just watch how Rekkles goes and pop, picks himself up his first kill. They have 5 members, and they're very mindful of the fact that sOAZ also has his ulti ready. So TP, definitely very risky. Really good predict from Caps as well, where he's going to get this really good knockback. But then you're going to see on the backline this great stun coming out from Betsy to just dissuade the rest of Fnatic. You think, oh, this could be really good here, but Hjarnan is too low to get involved in the fight once more. Betsy is zoned away because he doesn't have anything left in the tank, and then Fnatic end up cleaning up.
And just 2 things I noticed there as well. I missed during the original call, sOAZ catching Hjarnan against the wall. And also, we talked about communication and problems on the Roccat side. Fnatic, that TP came down and they swarmed.
Yes.
They absolutely swarmed. No confusion on what to prioritize. All right, Dark Binding finds Hjarnan, gets caught by the shove, barreled backwards as well. Man, that chain CC is... Oh, I hate this word. It's disgusting.
It is. It was very well played by Fnatic. CC after CC, the setup was nice. They killed the hyper carry for Roccat, and now the damage is lacking. Fnatic feel confident. They're making their way over to the Baron. Phaxi doesn't have TP, and there is a wall standing between Roccat and the Baron.
So good. Pridestalker's flashed in, not going to be able to pick it up with a smite. He managed to, or he decided to use the Infinite Duration Flash combo. And Fnatic, such a genius use of that Weaver's Wall.
So you can see here the pick. How does it all begin?
Dark Binding.
Bloop. Boom. The massive hitbox, the knockback from Taliyah, the follow-up chain stun from Rekkles into the Gragas barrel.
It's the combination. I actually want to play it. I actually want to play Morgana Jhin. It looks so fun. Because a Deadly Flourish or a Dark Binding. Ridiculous range, ridiculous route, and then you just deaded someone.
Yeah, it's a great combo. And especially when you're this fed on a Jhin. 8-1 and 3 right now. The thing about this build is, remember, very squishy targets. He's got a bit of a combo between the two of the early game power from the Ghost Blade and then transitioning more into this scaling build. And this really works because he gets so much bonus AD. Right now he's sitting on 538 attack damage. Those crits hit hard.
Oh,
and it's not just the 4th shot that crits too, like his other attacks can't crit. But that 4th one, that's the real kicker.
Damage on the other end, of course. Hjarnan's got his 3rd damage item, that Rage Blade, gone for a QSS. Definitely needs it against that CC. Black Shield will protect Jez's life for now. As Fnatic, Baron buff, 2 minutes remaining as they're sieging out the base. We're smelling a 2-0. Remember, Hjarnan did not have the CS advantage. Their win percentage down to 10%. sOAZ gets caught out. A little bit out of position.
Yeah, interesting play there from sOAZ. Not sure what he was trying to accomplish there. Will slow Fnatic down a touch. There's no minion wave for them in the top lane. They did push out mid, but things definitely looking a little rough.
See the Deficio tweet. Remember when Rekkles introduced it IEM? In actual fact, Rekkles played Jhin 9 times in the spring split. The last time he played it this year was in March. And we're seeing it for the first time in summer. He's only 8-1-3.
An average.
You know, I mean, just, you know, whatever's, like, no biggie.
And it also comes back to a great conversation that we were talking about in game 1, which is very much like MVP of the split. And you sit there and you wonder, like, evaluating who you think is one of these strong players, and it's really curious as to, like, could Rekkles be one of those contenders?
Hey, it's a great question to ask, right? The team played around him, they enabled him. So
did.
do you award the carry that for the first half of the split was protected by every other team member? One of whom was sOAZ. sOAZ, of course, played a lot of Shen. We know how much he loves that champion. A couple more wins. Fnatic guarantee themselves a spot in Paris. Minimum, hence the French flag. But sOAZ has been one of the unsung heroes. Definitely one of the guys who has been consistent performer, reliable performer. Maybe not the most flashy.
Yeah.
But you can see that, like, the highest damage rating. So that means amongst all of the champions he plays, you can, on average, expect sOAZ to deal 24% more damage on a respective champion than some of the opponents, sometimes a lot higher.
And this guy does have a deep champion pool. He's always been praised for his ability to have such versatility. As we do see another fight potentially kicking off.
All right, Seismic Shot catches out Wadid once again. Phaxi's gone all the way in. Where's the support? Pridestalker jumps in with the infinite duress. Forced to flash away from Rekkles. Rekkles is in trouble.
Look at Hjarnan!
It's gone down. Hjarnan is trying to bark his way down. His bite seems to hurt as well. Here comes sOAZ in the back end. Hjarnan's forced to use that QSS to safety. The Boomerang Blade starting to charge up the Rage Bar. sOAZ about to Gnar out. He's got a flash available to him. Will he go for the engage? Gnar's on the way. So far it's a 1-for-1, but it's a damage dealer from Fnatic down.
Fnatic, they still have the pressure advantage. They have 4 members looking to siege onto this tier 2 tower. And while Roccat looked pretty convincing in that fight, shutting down Caps, demonstrating the late game potential of this Kog'Maw, they still end up falling short, and the gold gap gets bigger and bigger in favor of Fnatic. So here we see that ward being dropped, very quick binding coming out from Jesiz. And at this point you think, oh, great engage onto Rekkles, but Phaxi's dropping extremely quickly. Regardless, the follow-up is so good from Roccat. A 3-man play from Wadid, a hook onto Rekkles, and you think Hjarnan's gonna clean up. But because of a great barrel from Broxah and the arrival of sOAZ, Roccat are forced to disengage, and they cannot get any more from the fight.
Man, just ridiculous damage from Hjarnan. The moment that Bioarcane Barrage timed out and he had to run forward, you can see it dropping off, but he was shredding Broxah.
Oh, he was. Sorry. Sorry.
Sorry. Vedius tried to talk, but he hit his mute button while he was trying to drink some water. So that was why it's kind of an awkward caster interaction. But anyways, Hjarnan on that Kog'Maw.
Can I have a drink now? Are you
You're not to. No,
okay,
you go. I got you, right? Hjarnan on Kog'Maw, he really wants Fnatic to be kind of jumping on him, because what you saw with Phaxi engaging means Hjarnan needs to run forward. And while Kog'Maw's running forward, the amount of damage he can deal is reduced. Ideally,
I mean,
ideally, he wants to kite back a little bit, right?
I mean, ideally he wants to stand still and just be a little turret, right? But they're never going to let him do that, especially when there's so much like CC and displacement on the side of Fnatic. But it's exciting. It means that these later game teamfights are going to get closer and closer. The Scimitar now picked up for Hjarnan as well will definitely help him a lot. Give him that extra bit of mobility. If he gets caught by a Dark Binding, he's less likely to die than what he was before.
I am glad you bring up some of the items, Vedius, because I've not mentioned them in a while, and it's kind of my responsibility.
It's all right.
Adaptive Helm for sOAZ. I don't really know how long Caps has had that Magi Soul Stealer. Currently on 2 stacks. Not gonna lie, I didn't see it myself. The Weaver's Wall comes down. Hjarnan has Flash available. Dark Binding catches down onto Wadid. Followed up as well by another route. Pridestalker, where's the infinite duress? He needs to find a target to lock down. sOAZ about to Gnar out. The goal difference at this stage means nothing. And we have to track summoner spells as well as HP on Hjarnan, Rekkles, and Cap, some of the primary damage dealers.
I mean, we also have to track the engages from Phaxi, because that was bad. He went over the wall when no one could follow him. He used his ulti onto a Gnar, and then he just jumped out. So now, Baron gonna be spawning, Elder Drake already alive. Question is, can Roccat clear this fast enough and make their way up to the Baron fast enough to challenge Fnatic?
Oh, Elder Dragon's gonna get secured by Roccat. Remember, Fnatic, not exactly the fastest of Baron teams, but they've got more than enough time. Trading Baron for Elder. What do you prefer and why? Go.
I much prefer the Baron. I think it gives so many more sieging opportunities. It's so much harder to force a fight onto a Baroned up team because of the Baron empowered minions. And it just means breaking into the base doesn't rely on you winning a big fight. That's why Roccat right now is just trying to force it as they set up a bit of a trap in Fnatic's jungle.
What about a 4-item Kog'Maw and Elder and Hurricane?
Yeah, that's a 5-item Jhin, who's level 18, and he crits a lot. Like, Aaron, let me check how much bonus AD he has, because it's 762.
Bonus AD?
Well, he has a lot of AD. Sorry, that's his total AD. I apologize. He has more AP than Caps does. Like, that's insane. That's a lot of AD, Quickshot. That's a lot.
How much AP does Caps have?
He has 574.
What you're saying is they hurt.
He has a death cap, and he has less than the Jhin.
Well, Jhin is pretty much going to one-shot anybody if he can get in range. And there's so many tools for Fnatic to defend Rekkles. I asked about 25 minutes ago what the win conditions were. How has it changed now?
It's the 280 carries. It's pretty much all about who can kill the front line first, who gets the better engage, who dies, Rekkles or Hjarnan.
You just said 3 things, man.
Well,
all right, Root catches on Pridestalker, but the Dark Binding doesn't. And can I summarize, if I summarize correctly?
Yeah, go.
Which AD carry can stay alive in the fight longer?
Yes.
Okay, let's see whether or not Fnatic can surround and swarm Roccat. Look at the minimap. Capped with the Weaver's Wall. He has the ability to close the gate on Roccat. The Lantern will pull Betsy forward, and Pridestalker is the current target. Infinite Duress is available to him as he gets caught by that 4th crit. Teleport coming down from Phaxi. He's now backed away. Caps has closed the door. Phaxi engaged with the flag and drag. Hjarnan moving forward. Flash and heal available to him. sOAZ gets chunked down. He flashes to safety. Gnar up. Nobody's died. Seismic shove. Tags onto Phaxi. He flags and drags out. Deadly flourish. Rooted. Flash. Binding. Still not dead. Death sentence onto Jesiz. That's a 2-man play. Caps flashes on the wall. Hjarnan's going forward. He hasn't got anyone yet.
he's still alive!
How is he still alive? Roccat get the 1 kill and they get away. Not yet. Hjarnan survives, 150 HP. Cabs with the threaded volleys.
Betsy, look at him!
Not gonna find the kill though. Threaded volley falling short.
Oh, the lantern!
Over the wall. How is nobody else dead?
But look, Fnatic, they have priority over mid. They have the Baron buff too. They're just going to try and run it into the base of Roccat.
Vedius, the win condition. Whose AD carry survives longer? What if both AD carries are alive? sOAZ looking for Wadid. Rekkles, no flash available. He crits down. That's another kill, but it's at the cost of Caps' life. AD carries are still alive, Vedius.
And Betsy, he gets away with his life, but a lot of damage was done to the base of Roccat. Both AD carries live after that insanely drawn-out fight, but it is still Fnatic that come out on top.
I don't know how I'm meant to play, but play fights like that. There are too many things to talk about.
You talk, and then you breathe, and then you talk, and then you breathe, and then it's my job to figure out how either team wins the next fight.
Vedius, on both sides of the rift, teams have 1 summoner spell. Exhaust for Jesiz and Smite for Pridestalker. Everything else was used.
Yeah, let's look at where everything was used, right? So Rekkles very early uses ulti to allow both Caps and sOAZ to join the fight. Pridestalker is forced to use his ulti right at the start of the fight. And the worst thing for Roccat here is their Elder Dragon is just about to run out. So all that bonus damage that they get is just going to disappear from them. So they force sOAZ out from the fray. They aren't able to shut him down. And you can just see the rest of Fnatic continuing on with this chase. A huge amount of damage available to them. Jesiz gets a little bit too greedy here. He gets hooked up and that's where he loses life. But then Hjarnan, such a good barrel from Broxah. But then Hjarnan's just like, move speed, ah, got a sidestep. Body block for me, team. And then he's able to get away with his life. But then, like, so many clutch CCs landing time and time again that forces either side to just make a clutch play to get away with it. And look at that, Betsy just missing his skill shot along with the added mobility of Caps. Lantern from Wadid. Now I'm just play-by-playing it like...
What does it mean, Vedius?
It means that it's so much easier now for Fnatic to end the game if they win another fight, because there are 2 exposed inhibitors from the side of Rockat's base, whereas Fnatic, they still have a lot of their base left, but I feel like Baron is still going to be the big point that's going to determine this next game, largely because other than that, there's no real way for either team to force a fight unless they can get some kind of miraculous flank off, but both TPs are down.
And of course, we've learned in Flash economics that when teams don't have the ability to spend a Flash, they tend to play more defensive.
Yes.
Lower risk plays. All right, Baron, 1:45 away. Frozen Mallet picked up by Hjarnan. Sorry, I'm just so used to saying it. All split long. The root again catches out Wadid. He's got no Flash, remember. The 4th and final shot comes down. Caps has closed the wall. Here comes sOAZ. He's looking for Hjarnan. Dark Binding catches down at the Pridestalker. Betsy's being chunked down by the threaded volley. He's sidestepping and running for his life. Redemption won't kill him, won't even catch him. Fnatic find 1. It's onto Wadid, 35 seconds. Hjarnan's in trouble. He's got no Flash. Hjarnan is down.
Fnatic find the pick that they need. They still have 5 members alive. Phaxi wasn't even in the fight, and now Roccat, they are running out of options to stay alive in this series.
3 versus 5. Fnatic take down the inhibitor. 45 seconds before Hjarnan is respawned. Fnatic, they're pushing in for the final fight, Vedius.
Fnatic 5 members strong. I don't know if Roccat can answer. They're gonna try.
All right, Cataclysm comes down. Dark Binding prevents any further follow-up. Wallop comes down from sOAZ, and the target is Phaxi. He's gnawed into his own dead inhibitor. Wadid has spawned, but his death sentence goes wide. 25 seconds before Hjarnan comes up, and Fnatic play it safe. They've lost enough games at the Nexus already, and they've learned from their mistakes.
They're not going to run the risk, so let's see how this pick came to be. Wadid, he's just trying to clear out the wards, but he doesn't have an ability to lantern himself out of the fray. The chain CC that we talked so much about is so strong for Fnatic. Oh, how? What's going on?
I don't know. Betsy needs to find the lantern. Won't find it just yet. sOAZ took down... I still don't know.
Nobody is dead. Phaxi, he's still dead from the last fight, so no one new is dead, is what I actually mean. TP is still available. And now they're making their way towards the Baron. It's still alive. 18 seconds on Phaxi.
If you're a believer in quick stats, there's only a 10% chance that Roccat can turn this around. But it would need to start now. 45 minutes in. Redemption's being thrown down into the base. Wadid finds a death sentence. Hjarnan is going to look for sOAZ. He avoids the Gnar. He's pounding away. But that's a good barrel. Hjarnan stays alive. So is Rekkles. Stun catches 2. Broxah's run for his life. Here comes Phaxi. He dunks down onto Rekkles. The Cataclysm, but Rekkles flashes for his life. Baron even gets an auto in there.
But Roccat, they're somehow winning this fight. Hjarnan, he doesn't have any mana, but if they get the kill onto sOAZ, they could get so much from this.
They've taken down sOAZ. 63-second death timer. How is this happening? Both AD carries stayed alive, and Roccat, they're on Baron.
They are indeed, Quickshot. They're looking to silence the haters. They want to remain as the Kingslayers as they take down the Baron, and they are still in this game against Fnatic.
This is ridiculous. Roccat and Fnatic showing up once again. Now remember, this is only the 2nd game. If Roccat win this, we have another game to play.
The audience certainly excited about this series. So let's have a look here. The biggest thing to note is sOAZ misses the ulti onto Hjarnan. He such a good flay from Wadid to just get him out of range. The barrel, even though it knocks him in, Hjarnan, he has his flash back up, he can get out of it. And now Rekkles, he just cannot get involved in the fight whatsoever. The front line of Broxah is gone, and Rekkles, his flash drops too. Fnatic, they have to separate, they have to disperse, and then Roccat go on the chase. They get the kill, they translate that into the Baron, and now they are the ones in control.
And we need to remind everybody of what is at stake here. Roccat are chasing a playoff spot. If they win out and Misfits lose out, Roccat take 3rd. They go to playoffs. If you're a member of the G2 army, you want Fnatic to lose to either Roccat or NIP. And then if G2 beat Fnatic, that's a fight for first. But this game is not over yet.
No, it's not. Look at Caps. He decided to go for the inhibitor and pop, but there are 5 members of Roccat in the top lane. They could just force a fight right now, and they're guaranteed to win. They have a minion wave. Are they going to gamble? Are they going to try and end?
Oh, looks to be the case. That's a stun onto sOAZ. He's able to get out of it just in time to hop to safety. Baron empowered minions now going to start dealing with the Fnatic supers in 2 lanes. Roccat fancy their chances. Death Sentence finds nobody, and look at the CC. Wadid is down. Here comes sOAZ. Nars against the wall. Follow Hjarnan on the left. He's melting sOAZ's HP. By Arcane Barrage starting to slowly time out. Heal is available, and that's sOAZ down. Now Pridestalker is the next target. They traded 1 for 1. Hjarnan forced to use the Mercurial Scimitar, and Rekkles gets another. Pridestalker and Phaxi's GA. Weaver's Wall comes out. Look at the seismic shove, as well as the minefield. That's going to pop backwards. Hjarnan's in trouble. Dark Binding finds him. A deadly flourish for Rekkles. Betsy's now the target. He gets taken down by Caps, and this feels like game.
It certainly does, Quickshot. Fnatic, they find an exquisite fight in their own base, keeping the series in their favor. They shut down Roccat, and now there is nothing standing in their way to get themselves the 2-0.
Fnatic are pouring down the middle lane. 10 seconds for Wadid to respawn. The players are already celebrating as Nexus turret number 1 falls. Nexus turret number 2 falls. The Nexus of the Kingslayer's Roccat is being crushed. Crushed is a strong word. Broxah, come on, bro, you can take it down. The rest of Fnatic are hunting Wadid. The Winians are pouring through. And after a delayed finish, Fnatic exact their revenge on Roccat.
The look of relief on Fnatic's face. When that Baron went down, it looked bleak. But they get that final fight right at the end of the game. Well, you'd expect the final fight, but but they made it work so superbly. 15-1-4 on Rekkles. This man was a machine in the late game on that Jhin. And what a tense series, though. That could have gone either way.
That gun may be called Whisper, but Rekkles was screaming from the rafters, enabled by all of Fnatic, and Broxah, time and time again, those barrels. You know what? Let me step back. Oh, I shouldn't say that. So often, Fnatic chained their CC flawlessly.
They did.
And that, to me, felt like the pivotal, like the game changer. Every time one CC landed, it never felt like someone got away.
But also, it became extremely difficult for Roccat to really ever kill a single member of Fnatic and then turn that into a multi-team kill. Like, just bear in mind, the overall kill score of that game at the very end of it was 23 for Fnatic and 13 for Roccat. They never really got a full 5v5 team win. They never really were able to shut down all the members of Fnatic, and it was just thanks to their composition, the Morgana, the Taliyah, the Gragas, so many disengage tools that made it incredibly difficult for Roccat to just keep chasing with the comp that they had.
Heartbreaking scene there as Wadid put on his hoodie and walked away. You think about Roccat this series, they fought hard.
They did.
They could have, maybe should have, won game 1. They had opportunities in game 2. A 22-minute Baron. A 46-minute Baron. And there's just something in that last gear, something in that last step that is not clicking for Roccat.
Nope. A part of me thinks it's experience. A part of me thinks that it's just coordination. This team just can't seem to click. And it is unfortunate because I'm sure the fans, they always get extremely excited when they see these glimmers of hope. But then when it actually comes down to it, when that final decision has to be made, they crumble. They can't execute. They cannot make it happen, and they don't translate it into a win.
And something you kept saying throughout the series, communication seems to be one of the big, one of the big blockers.
Yeah.
Blocker's a good word. Whereas for Fnatic, on the other hand, just really good coordination, like the chain CC, the rallying around the TP is one of the most visual explanations of clear, calm communication. Yeah. Who would you vote for player of the series?
Player of the series? It was, I don't know. I was asked in the game, and I was like,
I actually swore at production. I was like, no, can't ask me this right now. But we did have to vote. Who did you vote for?
I think I voted for Rekkles.
You did? Well, fantastic, because he's actually the player of the series. Rekkles, of course, managed to have great performances. That Jhin pulled it up for the first time in summer. 26, 4, and 8. Man, who has him on fantasy? Well done on your win this week. That's pretty much what it boils down to.
Oh, yeah. You get bonus points for getting 10 kills in a game, right?
You do indeed.
That's pretty nice. And only dying once in that game, a 48-minute game.
It's insane. Caps and Broxah are busy getting their microphones as we speak. So congratulations to Fnatic. They keep that first place seed almost guaranteed because they need to lose to both G2 and NiP in order to lose first.
And remember, NiP beat Roccat, so it only gets harder from here for Fnatic.
If you believe Vedius. Fnatic got the win after a crazy end to the series. Let's head over to Pyra, who's talking to the jungler and mid laner.
Thank you very much, Quickshot. Crazy series, I don't even think begins to describe it. Guys, that was the closest 2-0 I've ever seen. How do you feel after having to come back twice holding on against Roccat?
I think it's pretty hard to describe this feeling. Like, this series was completely crazy and super close. And I think in the end, all of us were pretty scared of losing last game. Like, it was extremely close, and if it went just a little bit wrong, then it would suck pretty hard and they would end the game. But I think we were pretty good at staying calm and just pull it together in the end.
It seemed like it was the case, and you know, you had to think like flashbacks to week 3 when you guys won first game, it turned around in game 2, and why is it always Roccat that gives you guys trouble?
The kryptonite.
Yeah, that's it?
I'm not sure. I think we always seem to have like a kind of struggling week beforehand. Like last time it was, we were a bit cocky beforehand because we had won every game, and this week I feel like we have had actually a pretty good week, but there was just some days where it was a bit rocky. And personally, I think today we showed a bit of this rockiness in like our communication. We were a bit all around the place, and while we usually go on the same call, and we will usually be really good at like team fighting and doing different calls. Today we were completely on different pages, and yeah, it's something we'll have to fix.
That is something that you guys want to work on going forward, but at the same time, you still managed to pull out the victory, and it was in crucial moments that you made the big plays. Since week 3, it seems like this Fnatic has really kind of leveled up since the last time you lost here on the LCS stage. Broxah, what for you has changed about this team since then?
I think that before our playstyle was pretty predictable, in the end at least. Like, everyone knew exactly what champions we were going to play, how we were going to play. Like, we had just done it for so long that it was pretty obvious in the end. Whereas now it's a bit harder to predict us since we play kind of standard now. And it's a bit hard to counter the style. And I think that the other style gave us so much team play because we had to play so well together to simply make it work, and that is very helpful now.
Yeah, it seems like you guys were coming around in these really clutch team fights time and again, even if you were down against Roccat. It seems to be kind of Fnatic's signature. Do you think that you guys are the best team at team fighting in Europe?
I have no idea. I think we're probably the best team in Europe right now, so I think team fighting is just another thing that we're good at. And since we're usually ahead in our games, then we'll also look better in team fights.
Well, that's completely fair. And, you know, obviously you guys are 2 of the younger members, but you have a lot of veteran sources on your team that you can look to for insight. I mean, who do you look up to on this team, on this Fnatic squad in your rookie year?
Well, I think me and Caps look up to all the other 3 players. Like, they have a lot of experience in different ways. Like, sOAZ has played for so long, and both Rekkles and sOAZ has been at semis and Worlds. Jesiz has been at Worlds too and been a coach. Like, there's just a lot of different reasons to respect them.
Absolutely. I mean, list goes on, but is there a particular leader on this team, somebody that you guys are always listening to in those crazy clutch moments that's going to guide the team?
I think it depends on who has the playmaking ability and who is really confident in the moment. I think everyone are able to step up in the moment and make the call. If they see an opportunity to, let's see, we hit a Morgana binding, then Jesiz will call, or we can hit a barrel from Gragas or a Taliyah W or something like this.
Wow, so anybody can step up in the clutch in the moment. That seems to really be to your guys' benefit. Now, you know, just to keep touching on this, you guys are the newer members of this team. You've come in at various times in this year to kind of be a part of Fnatic. As they're now kind of resurging and you guys are having like return to the Fnatic glory, for young players like you guys, what does that mean to you?
Well, of course, it's really huge to be part of such a strong team and a famous and well-known organization in our first year as pro players. Like it brings a lot of pressure, but at the same time, you know, it's just really cool because it gives a lot of opportunities as well. And yeah, like right now we're just looking to get to Worlds and do well there, and then we see how it goes.
All right, well, there's one more team standing in your way. Caps, this one's for you. You guys gonna beat G2 next week?
I think it depends if we're gonna play. I mean, if we beat Nib, then it won't matter the last game. And then we're not sure if we're gonna pull out some Yasuo or not. But
I'm gonna hold you to that.
But yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. Well, congratulations, guys. Eyes on the prize going ahead. Go ahead and take it away at the analyst desk.
All right, thank you, Alfred. Enjoy your trip back to the Batcave. Well, as you just saw, Fnatic got their revenge on Roccat. The younger players, the lineup growing immensely, the team getting better. But it was so close. I mean, look, I can't take it with Fnatic game one. I feel like they were always out team fighting consistently, and it was kind of a slow grind. Fnatic found some opportunities back. But Vedius, I want to go to you first now that you're joining us on the desk. How many times over the course of this series did you think that Roccat might find a win?
Oh, I thought multiple times. I thought that, especially in game one, they really could have won that game because there were so many situations where they got themselves early bans, they got themselves a few good fights. Like, they were in a great position, but then they made bad decisions. They couldn't execute properly so many times, and that just resulted in them crumbling when it mattered.
Right, and Fnatic's composition, especially in game one, we're seeing some of these Gragas team fights play out where Broxah is hitting beautiful ultimates and actually making it even more difficult for Roccat actually to execute on that. I was having heart palpitations in game two as if we were going back to game two from the first time these two teams met this split. Thankfully, Phaxi was 11 deaths short for the majority of that game than the last time.
That's the
secret.
won. They would have won. He just didn't die enough. That was the problem.
That wasn't enough tribute.
At 13 deaths, Phaxi becomes the greatest top laner in Europe. That's what you don't understand. It's just that threshold that he needs to hit. But, I mean, a really chaotic game, I think, in some ways, Roccat can be happy to a certain degree with some of the improvement, especially the early game, which felt good for them in both games. But on the opposite side, Fnatic, that felt bad to me. As a team, Fnatic, I think we can safely say, are top team in Europe, or at least contesting. Top 3 for sure, top 2, I think, as well. Dropping games like that, playing sloppy like that, that's not what we want, what they want to be seeing, and not what we want to be seeing either as we get closer.
So I challenge that a little bit, only because in game one, I think that composition didn't involve any sort of early game advantages, and Roccat played really well. They did. They utilized the Taliyah really well. Their Kha'Zix game was impressive. I thought that the Roccat overall played the early portions effectively. But then when the mid-game came, we saw that Fnatic were the better team fighters. They utilized their composition the way it was supposed to be, and I think that overall the better team came out on top in game one. Game two, I think a lot of the early deficit just came from Caps. This guy trying to go for these early invades onto Pridestalker, trying to set stuff up on the blue buff, then being forced to flash, the early gank going horribly wrong. Like, they just played their early game badly, which resulted in another advantage going in favor of Roccat. And I just think that it's a matter of game two, they misplayed, but game one, you just have to give credit to Roccat, who did play very well.
Yeah, I think it's the kind of one where you want to give a lot more to Roccat. I think for Fnatic, there's so much discussion about how they're younger players, and I don't want to put words in Fnatic's mouth or anything, but being this close to basically having the first spot anyway, you heard Cap say it in the interview that if they beat NIP, the G2 series in their mind doesn't matter. I wonder how much of that weighs on them, that they're so far ahead right now that you come into a series against Roccat and you're like, oh, okay, let's try and push the envelope a little bit, let's play a little more loose. I don't want to say that's what happened, but certainly for Caps, when you say he's trying these risky plays, that may be an attribute to that.
Yeah, interesting to try to keep that discipline as we move forward. Well, earlier today we introduced damage rating as a stat. Now keep in mind this is pretty much an update to damage per minute, taking out a lot of the variables and biases that damage per minute has. It accounts for champion pool. It accounts for how often people are actually in range to fight with each other as well. What was the last one? Champion pool, fight range.
If you're winning is another one.
If you're winning, because it's a super win bias stat. But all those variables have been taken out when you look at damage rating, and Rekkles was 78.2% above the average. And additionally, on the opposite side, Hjarnan with a similarly surprising number, 69.5% above the average for AD carries in similar situations. So I have to say, amazing standout performances on both sides. Rekkles, I think, very deserved player of the series, but Hjarnan as well, kind of making his mark.
Yeah, both AD carries looking very strong in this. Game 2 basically boiled down. You and Trevor were talking a lot about how it's if one AD carry survives at the end of it. I think my favorite thing about this is Rekkles is rank 1 in Europe for damage rating as it is. He averages 14.8% damage rating. That's significant. He's doing 14.8% more damage on his champions than just about everybody else that you expect from. This game is like 70% plus. That's how monstrous this guy was on an AD carry.
And I mean, it makes sense. They're fighting literally constantly. Yeah. I mean, the amount of times, or the amount of opportunities this guy has to do damage is through the roof, and he's consistently fighting every time. But it was not just about Fnatic Roccat. Our first series of the day, H2K and Vitality going toe-to-toe. Very dominant win from H2K as well. I feel like, unlike a shakier series from Fnatic, H2K never really looked out of control.
No, I mean, the beginning of game 1, Vitality had a game plan. They were like, let's put Jankos on the back foot. Let's give him Zac. Turns out that's not a good thing to do 2 games in a row. And Jankos eventually turned it around and punished them. But game 2 looked very solid from H2K. Not a whole lot of things you can really pick holes in out of H2K's gameplay today. I think they, to me, look like the best team in Group B.
The thing that makes me happy is that we saw consistency. They dominated Splice last week. They dominated Vitality this week. Now the real challenge comes with Unicorns of Love, who they will play in the final game of the split. So I'm excited to see how well they can do up against them, because traditionally, Unicorns of Love have always been the team to have the advantage over H2K. So I think this builds up to what will be an extremely exciting series happening in the final.
I mean, it gets me hyped, too. When we look back at this, Jankos coming in as player of the series, he's stepping up as well. Everything feels like it's coming together for H2K to just put on a monster performance. And as we look at the standings, you start to talk about how close these teams are, the fight for first seed, second seed, third seed, how important that could be, essentially life or death going up against G2. It's kind of crazy to see how important some of these future matches are going to be, and especially for Group B.
Yeah, especially that H2K Unicorns of Love matchup. Now, of course, the playoff spots in Group B are locked, as we've talked about a couple of times today. As you said, it's avoiding G2. I don't think H2K are likely to fall down to 3rd spot, but maybe ending up out of that playoff bye in Group B is in the realm of possibility if Unicorns show up, but I still think H2K, they are peaking at the right time here.
And it's a little bittersweet for Vitality and Roccat. Once again, finishing in that safe zone as they did in spring. And it's rough, especially when we've given a lot of praise to Vitality as they've been on their upward trend over the last few weeks. And for Roccat, after such a close game today, like, you would imagine that if they were in playoffs, they could actually give a lot of teams a run for their money. And when you compare that to a team like Misfits, who really have just been on a consistent downward spiral, it just makes you wonder, like, on Group B, it's all about getting that 2nd seed now, because you want to avoid G2 and you want to see if you can get yourself Misfits, given the current performances of both teams.
Now, I'm curious, looking at the way the playoffs could lock a lot of key matchups coming up for both sides, do you think right now, Group B specifically, I think Group A is pretty close to locked at this point, Group B specifically, H2K first, Unicorns of Love second, Splice third. That's what it looks like right now. But how's this going to mix up? Do you guys think this is reflective of what the final standings will be? Who is actually going to take first, second, and third?
I personally believe that it'll be H2K, Splice, Unicorns of Love. I think the series tomorrow will be indicative of that. Largely because Splice, to me, have shown growth, especially in the last few weeks. They seem to be so much more active in the early game. They seem to recognize that they play really well in 1-3-1, and they're playing towards what they are good at. Whereas Unicorns of Love are not showing that same level of adaptation. They're still, like, to a degree, experimenting, but at the same time, they're also trying to play team fights, which they're kind of getting outclassed in by a lot of other teams.
And that's the interesting thing. Last time Splice and the Unicorns met, Splice out team fought the Unicorns. So as you said, I think tomorrow is going to be very indicative of how the chips are going to fall at the end of it. I feel like Unicorns are going to edge it, but that's more on gut instinct than...
I know, it's really hard. Despite the Unicorns of Love being on a little bit of a downturn, showing a lot of the same issues, I still feel like UOL have the potential to win this one out. Of course, our first series today is going to be Ninjas in Pajamas versus Misfits Gaming, but the really crucial one here, Unicorns of Love versus Splice, all-important decider for Group B.
But that first one should be really exciting for some viewers as well, because remember, NIP, they actually had a really convincing series over Roccat not too long ago, and Misfits are on the downward trend. So this could be a surprising upset game, which I really think people should tune in for.
Okay, all right then. What is a surprising upset game? You said it could be. So what's the prediction then? I want to hear
prediction.
First series tomorrow, Misfits versus NIP. do NIP get a game? Because NIP beat Roccat, they looked clean, I'll give them that. But this is bold, to come in from, hey, you beat the 4th seed, to hey, you're just now immediately contesting top teams.
But I think the biggest thing about them is that they went from getting early leads and not being able to translate them into showing that against Roccat, they could do that. And if they can get an early lead, something that Misfits always struggle to do, is win when they are at a deficit.
What? Okay, so but they've shown it once.
Yes,
yeah. Stress. Okay, so maybe I'm wrong
But that's
here.
why
maybe
I'm
wrong
excited.
Here.
That's why, because it's about whether or not NIP can keep this consistent. Because remember, they've got nothing to lose now. They are only here to play spoiler. They know they're going into the promotion tournament.
Yeah,
right? And, you know, former SKT top laner, you've got Shook in the jungle,
okay.
Nagne, the Korean legend.
He's clearly content to just ramble on about Nagne and Private, but like, what are the chances here that the Misfits actually get upset by the Ninjas and the
I think chances are slim. I think the early game is where it has to be. For me, Misfits, although they are on this weird downtrend, the early game for me still seems quite secure for Misfits, and that's where I don't see quite the same lead opening up. I can definitely see quite an even early game where both teams are making plays, and then we get into that weird, crazy part where Misfits kind of slow down and don't quite know what to do. There's possibly a game. I don't think there's much more than that. I still would say a 2-0 Misfits, though.
All right, and you said they can definitely get a game, so we got a 2-0 and a 2-1.
Misfits.
All right, we'll see. Misfits favored for sure, but we will find out for tomorrow. It's time for us to log off for the night. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen, for joining me on the desk as well. Join us tomorrow for the final day of Week 9. We'll see you guys then.
Taliyah are hoping to squeeze their way into that pool. But it all starts right here, right now, for game number 1 between H2K and Vitality. Saudi steal back here. There's the flash. Lantern not even taken right now as Nuclear hops in. The Featherstorm is going to go out, but doesn't really matter. Febiven, he pulls him back in. At the ball, he's going to get pushed back for just a second. The Thresh box comes down. Shockwave pulls in 2, and the Cats come too late. Tower goes down. Nuclear comes up with a kill.
I like how you just all go mid and just A them.
To Vitality as they have one last opportunity here to try and grab themselves a win. See them, and there's no flash. There's the return, so the Jarvan gets turned to stone, but there is nowhere for that snake to go. Hooked back in by Vander. Chaos Storm will be the finisher. Or at least we want it on our own terms. Joko goes in, but he was the one who was caught up in the Cataclysm, and now Nukeduck's gone bouncing against his will. It is not even 25 minutes into this game, and Vitality's hopes and dreams are being crushed. Playoffs are out of reach, and H2K take the sweep.
You have an extra minute.
sOAZ continues to take tower damage, forced to flash away. Rekkles isolated by Pridestalker. Wadid's going for the solo kill, and he gets it. No, there's a support from Hjarnan. Jesiz is caught out as well, and Fnatic are completely undone.
It's fine, guys.
We just placed safe now, and we stole the game. We win later.
Rekkles continues to wail away. Roccat now routed, running for their lives. Caps has killed Phaxi, and that's 2 for Fnatic.
Kog'maw is this low, but look at Betsy.
Well, Dark Binding catches him. Summoning heal by some time. Rekkles just delaying that shot.
Morgana, flash, Morgana, look for Morgana, no flash. We're freaking. Okay.
Betsy, look at him!
Not gonna find the kill though. Threaded volley falling short.
Oh, the lantern!
Over the wall. How is nobody else dead?
It's so strong for Fnatic. Oh, how? What's going on?
I don't know. Betsy needs to find the lantern. Won't find it just yet. sOAZ took down. I still don't know. Broxah, come on, bro. You can take it down. The rest of Fnatic are hunting Wadid. The Winions are pouring through. And after a delayed finish, Fnatic exact their revenge on Roccat.